During the renovation of my 1920s schoolhouse, I've tried to not buy new furniture. I've experimented with several traditional finishes inspired by Scandinavian building conservation. Many are still widely used here in Sweden, not just because you're sometimes nostalgic, but because they simply work. In this video, I'm sharing 4 of those finishes, how I use them and why. I think these beds are from the 80s or 90s. I bought them cheaply with the intention of giving them a makeover and repainting them. In Sweden you can buy egg oil tempera ready mixed or make it yourself. I like to make mine from scratch. All you need is eggs, water, pigment and linseed oil. I became interested in traditional paints after learning how much modern coatings contribute to microplastics in the oceans. Depending on the study, paint is estimated to account for somewhere between roughly 9 and 50% of microplastics found in the oceans. And that made me curious about alternatives. Environmental aspects aside, I love egg oil tempera for its surface. It creates a soft, matte, almost chalk-like finish. It works on many materials: wood, metal, some plastics, stone and brick, but only indoors. It dries quickly while you work, which means you can't go back and overbrush. The pigment can rub off slightly in the first couple of weeks, and it takes months to fully harden. But once cured, it becomes surprisingly durable. For those familiar with milk paint, the recipe is similar, but the binder is different. I also repainted this coffee table I bought at a flea market for 20 euros. I chose a similar deep and dark color because it's my vibe. I made the paint too thick the first layer, so I added more water and oil emulsion for the second layer. If you add twice as much water and oil, the paint actually turns into a stain, which is what we tried on this table. For painted furniture, I often turn to linseed oil paint. I use it throughout the house, on kitchen cabinetry, windows, trims and furniture.
på order. Ett annat problem var att samtliga pass var holländska.
Linseed oil paint requires patience. It dries slowly, sometimes over several days, and it must be applied in very thin layers. But instead of forming a plastic film on top, it bonds with the wood. The oil nourishes the fibers and lets the wood breathe. That's why it's formidable for windows. Compared to conventional furniture paints, linseed oil paint isn't about speed, it's about longevity. Over time it might lose some shine, but it will look like brand new after some new linseed oil on top. It's a finish you maintain, not replace. The Bistro set screws, they were a bit rusty, not too bad, but I decided to do a rust removal test with the help of items that you can find in your kitchen. And I thought I would share the results. Here is Coca-Cola, vinegar, and lemon. They're all acid, but I'm very curious to see which one works best. I think they've been here for 3 days now. The Coca-Cola have started to mold a little bit on the top. But let's pour it out and see the result. I prefer using infrared heat instead of chemical strippers or heat guns when it comes to paint removal. Especially when working with older paint layers, controlled heat doesn't create harmful fumes from chemicals like a heat gun does. It softens the paint without damaging the wood fibers underneath. After stripping, I treated the surface with linseed oil soap. Today, most people associate this method with wooden floors, but historically it was also used sometimes on furniture. It cleans, nourishes, and slowly builds protection over time. And one interesting aspect is that it gradually lightens pine when exposed to daylight, which is a natural chemical reaction. I've used the same method on the pine floors in 2 rooms in my house, and I love the result. In Sweden, you can count yourself lucky if you have an old preserved soap floor. The patina is just stunning, because it's a finish that, just like Egg Oil Tempera and Linseed Oil Paint, ages very well. In the case of this armoire, it also removed the heavy attic smell, replacing it with a subtle soap scent. And for this next stage, I am using linseed oil that protects metal from rust. And it's heated up to 130 degrees. And I'm going to use a brush to apply it to all of the hardware. if you want to follow my renovation, I've made a yearly recap that I will link here. But I also make weekly vlogs sharing projects, rooms that I work on, and daily Swedish country life. See you in the next video.